The Water Industry Pack is a collection of pre-built resources found in water and wastewater applications. We've included some pumps, valves, a tank, and other resources, each paired with a UDT. When starting a new project, we often need to build up our reusable views and UDTs from scratch. This pack will give you a head start. The full project includes an overview screen showing all the components on a simple HMI diagram. We have a 4-way valve, peristaltic pump, a standard pump, and a VFD pump. The tank has options for a mixer, linear scale, and other display values. The filter shows your standard water treatment KPIs. We also included an analog indicator and a spark line that you can pair with any equipment. Clicking most of these resources is going to open an HMI pop-up, and clicking the setup icon will open a pop-up with a list of set points for the device. These set points can drive alarms, and we use them in the HMI for changing colors based on something like an out-of-range condition. We also use them to set up the analog indicator. The list of filters you see here is built by a list view resource. We created this so you can list out all instances of a UDT and show the current tag values. Everything you see here is fully customizable and themable. You can use the built-in themes or build your own. Every resource pairs with a UDT, so you can link up to a PLC and start visualizing real-time data quickly. So let's get into the Ignition Designer and start building a project. Here I've started a new project, and I imported everything from the water pack, including the UDTs. The first thing I want to do is start building a new HMI screen. Now before I do that, I'm going to need some tags. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the standard tank UDT. This tank has a capacity, level, in service, and name tags. We've got a few default set points for a high and low level, and we included some sample alarms on the level tag. And we go ahead and use those high and low set point values to drive those alarms. If your tank has a mixer, you can make use of the mixer tags. Most of our resources have two parameters, one for a name and one for the units. You can add and remove tags here, but just keep in mind that you're going to need to update the matching component to reflect any changes that you make. Now I'm pretty happy with the standard here, so I'm going to go ahead and close this and we can create our first tank instance. All right, back to my tags. I like everything organized, so I have a tanks folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a new instance of that tank UDT. Now I'm using this for my bulk tank, so I'll go ahead and give it a name of BT1. I'm going to go into my parameters. I would like a more user-friendly name, so I'm going to call this bulk tank 1. And I'm going to go ahead and set gallons for my units. Now I would need to configure my set points. I'm going to go ahead and give this a high level and a low level set point. And I'm going to go ahead next and set the capacity for my tank. Now I can start assigning some tag values. I happen to have a simulator set up. You, in your case, will have some PLC values. So we'll go ahead and select that in service value. And next I can go ahead and set up my level value. And since I'm not going to be using the mixer, I'm just going to go ahead and change those from OPC tags to memory tags. That way our components are not going to show an error if we are missing those tags. Finally, I'm going to take a look at the name tag here. This is going to be either my instance name, or it's going to go ahead and use that parameter that I gave it of the bulk tank 1. I'm happy with everything. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and we can see my standard tank values here. Here I have an HMI view in my project. The first thing I want is a tank, so I'm going to go ahead and take that tank and drag it onto my view. Now, it doesn't look very good, does it? Every component has a path parameter, and we can link that to that instance of our matching UDT. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to that bulk tank that we just created, and things are looking much better. All of our components also have some setting parameters. Let's go ahead and open that up here. The animation speed and appearance will reflect the symbol settings in your session properties, but I could go ahead and change them here if I like. We do have some options for appearance, such as mimic, sample, and PNID. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this one as auto. Now, none of these tanks have agitators, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the display agitator. I'm going to leave my fill level displayed, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this spark line. Since I don't have tag history set up, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And then I would like to leave the scale here. You can see that that's already set up for my capacity value, and I can make that look a little bit better on my screen. Getting into the display values, I'm going to go ahead and change the position of those display values to the top. We could set them to left or right as well. I'm going to go ahead and set those to the bottom. And if I don't want to show that agitator state, I can go ahead and hide that. And there is an option to display a little trend icon that will open a pop-up with a graph. Since we don't have historical trending set up, I'll go ahead and disable that. Okay, I can continue adding and reconfiguring components as needed. So I'd like to have a standard pump. I'm going to go ahead and drag that onto my screen. Again, we have the path parameter, and I already have a tag for the pump. I'm pretty happy with the default settings, but I would like to see this flow value with some more context. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to grab this analog indicator, and I'm going to drag that onto the screen. Now again, we've got our path parameter. This one has an extra. I need to specify which tag value I'd like to see. And when I get into the settings, this analog indicator is a little bit special. We can show just some text values. I can go ahead and set up a label and some units. And that's going to show me just the flow in text. Now, since this is something I want to use as an analog indicator, I'm going to go ahead and turn that show value off, turn my analog indicator back on, and now we can see that the analog indicator is live and it is set up using our set point values. So next up, I would like to see a little bit of history for this pump. I'm going to drag a spark line onto my view here. I'm going to go ahead and set that path again. I am interested in the flow value. I'm going to go ahead and set the number of hours that I would like to display, and I'm going to change this range a little bit so that looks a little bit better on my screen. So as you can see, I'm pretty much on my way to having a full HMI screen here. But what if I want to build something a little more text-based, like a dashboard? Here I have a new view for the dashboard. Now I want to see all of these filters in my system along with the current tag values. So this brings us to our list view. The list view is a little bit special. I'm going to go ahead and drag that view onto the screen here. I'm going to make that full size. And then I'm going to go into play mode. I'm going to configure my list view right here in the designer. I've got an icon for that. I can choose my standard filter. As soon as I do that, I've got one column for each of the tag values. Once I click confirm, I can see all 9 filters in my system along with their current tag values. Okay, that's looking pretty good, but I could do better. I'm going to go back into the configuration here. Now, state, that's really just a number that doesn't have any meaning for the user. I'm going to go ahead and turn that display off. I'm going to do the same thing with mode. I'm going to go ahead and give this state name a little more friendly name for the user so they know what that is. Same thing with my mode. I can use an alias for any of these columns. I want to take this name and I want to put it up here at the top of my display. My level was looking pretty good, but I would like to see some formatting there. I'll give that 2 decimal places. I'm going to go ahead and give that some units. I'd like to take this loss of head value and move this down in the list a little bit. And now when we go back to our list view, I have everything in a much nicer format. I have my name first, my state, my level in inches. Everything is just how I formatted. Finally, there are a few settings you should be aware of. One is our refresh rate. This is how quickly we're going to go ahead and pull for new tag values. You can decide if you want to give your users an icon for being able to refresh that manually. And then if you're happy with all of these settings and you don't want the users to be able to change the configuration, you're going to want to turn off both of these show settings options here. Now, if you do want your users to be able to create their own columns and configuration in the Ignition client, go ahead and turn on one of these. You've got one for showing a docked configuration and one for showing a pop-up, and you can turn those on for your user and they'll be able to use that in the client. All right, once you've built some screens, you're probably going to want to apply your own styling. You can choose one of the standard themes built into Ignition, or you could create your own theme and you can use that. We've also included some style classes. So I'm going to go up here into my style classes and I'm going to find that title text style. Now we recommend that you stick to these theme variables like I have here, but you could go ahead and choose anything you want. I'm going to choose some blue here. And you can see that all of my titles have changed. So that's a way for you to quickly change the look and feel of your project using our style classes. We also gave you a series of styles based on states. Here in the symbol state folder, I have one for faulted, running, and stopped, and that corresponds to what's going on with my pumps on screen there now. So if I wanted to change one of these, I'll go ahead and open up the running. And let's say that I didn't want a high performance HMI look. I wanted something a little more traditional HMI. I'm going to go ahead and choose green for my running component. Click OK, and that changes that running pump. That would also change any equipment in this resource. So that's it today for our water industry pack. We can't wait to see what you build with this yourself.